All right, it's 3 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Monday with All-Star Weekend in the rear view. The NBA stretch run begins Wednesday. The Trailblazers back in action Thursday. Luka and the Lakers are in town. Tip-off from Moda at 7. Our coverage will begin with the Rip City Drive live at 3 from Moda Center. Dave Decker going to join me today at 4:20. I'll talk with Aaron Finchers of the Oregonian at 5:20. From college hoops, Oregon State improved to 18-9 with a win over Pacific on Saturday. They're going to be at Pepperdine Thursday. The Ducks have won back-to-back games after topping Rutgers yesterday. They will be at Iowa Wednesday. Auburn is number 1 for the 6th straight week. And Caitlin Clark's agent says it's impossible to pay his client her true worth to the WNBA. Rip City Drive with Chad Doings coming up next. And don't forget, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. We'll do it tomorrow at 5.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's time for the Rip City Drive, brought to you by Lazy Boy. What's your strategy for comfort? Featuring the crazy and often irrational longtime Portland radio vet, Chad Doing.
You won't see anything from me tonight. Unfortunately, I will not be in uniform tonight. Still dealing with ankle and foot discomfort, so I will not be playing tonight, unfortunately. I hate that, but I'm looking forward to seeing the format. This is the first year for it. I know we got a lot of great, call us the OGs. That's hilarious. We do got a few guys with gray hairs, so that it makes sense.
You work all year to be an all-star, and you get to play up to 40, and then you're done. This is so unfair to Victor Wembanyama, who just took this game really seriously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just took this game really seriously. When you talk about chasing after the points records, Melo and Kobe and all these guys who've had great scoring nights, they don't get the opportunity to do that with this game. Also, we can watch some rising stars. We're about to watch the Olympic team. Now we get the treat of watching the Olympic team play against a U19 team. Come on, what are we doing?
Scale of 1 to 10, your thoughts of the format?
10 being the best?
Yes.
A 0. Sucks.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Yeah, we heard from LeBron there in the open. I have to admit, I was devastated that LeBron did not suit up and play in the All-Star game. I was waiting all weekend hoping to see LeBron. I will touch on the All-Star weekend down in San Francisco. Look, I'm not going to bash the NBA or the weekend. It hasn't been a big deal to me for years, and until the players start to show that they truly care, it's going to be hard for me to get engaged. That's what it comes down to. If I know they don't really care and they're not giving me their best effort, and then the NBA, out of their efforts to try and improve the weekend, they dilute it and they confuse their fans, it makes it difficult to watch. Much like the NBA in-season tournament. I did not think the league did a good job last year when they presented that to us as to why they were doing it, what the purpose behind it was, and why we were supposed to care about that more than any other regular season game in November or December, or whatever the case may be. So, I don't know. I don't know what they can do outside of the players just making a pact that we're going to compete and give the best effort we can and to get back to having a regular basketball game. But when you break it up into a mini tournament and you're playing to 40 or whatever the case may be, it's just too much. It's a bit over the top. So we'll hear from some of the players. Draymond Green was against it. We'll hear from Trae Young, who did not like some of the stoppages. But the bottom line now, after All-Star Weekend, the players will get a few more days off. There's one game Wednesday, and then the slate of games kick off on Thursday, including the Portland Trailblazers, who will begin their stretch run against the Lakers. So LeBron and Luka will be in town, and we'll get a chance to see what they look like. I'm still trying to figure out if the Lakers are Western Conference contenders or pretenders. But I want to see more of Luka and LeBron together and to see how dynamic that offense can be with those two guys on the floor. I have to admit, I'm excited to see it. I still can't believe the Mavericks traded away Luka, but now that he's in L.A., I want to see how it plays out on the floor. I don't think they're championship contenders, but they could make a run to the Western Conference Finals depending on matchup. So they'll be in town on Thursday. That's going to be a lot of fun. And Luka, after being out for some time with an injury, is back, and he's still trying to get a feel for things with his new teammates. But one thing we've learned, whether it's Kevin Durant in Golden State with Steph Curry, Draymond, and other great players, or Kyrie and Luka in Dallas, smart, high-IQ basketball players who are among the best, they tend to find a way to learn how to play with one another because they know how to do it. I didn't think Luka and Kyrie would work, and yet they almost won an NBA championship. I'm still amazed at Kyrie's turnaround after leaving Brooklyn. It looked like he had damaged his brand forever, and then he became a model citizen and teammate with the Mavs and played terrific, and they nearly won a championship last year, so props to him. So we'll see how it works with Luka and LeBron. So if you want to reach out to me, you can do so. The phone number is 503-248-0620. You can reach out to me on social media as well. You'll find me there at Chad in Rip City. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk some basketball. Dave Decker, BlazersEdge.com, is going to join us at 4:20. I want to talk to him about the stretch run for the Blazers, namely what he expects to happen with playing time and roster maneuvers. I guess what I really want to know is, are we going to see a reduction in playing time for Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant to pave the way for more playing time for the young guys? The lineup that I want to see personally the rest of the way, or at least for an extended stretch to get a good look at it, would be the 5 young guys I've been touting and talking about for quite some time now. Scoot and Shaden in the backcourt, Klingon at center. And we know Klingon's going to get extended run the rest of the way because of the injury to Ayton, who's going to be out for multiple weeks. And then, of course, the dynamic duo at forward of Toumani Camara and Deni Avdija. Those are the 5 guys I would like to see start and get a chance to play together for an extended stretch in the last part of the season. I think that would be awesome. Those are the 5 guys who are the building blocks moving forward. Those are the 5 guys that are providing me with some optimism as this franchise moves forward, because we know those 5 are going to be the guys that they're going to add pieces to during the summertime and through the draft. So that's exciting to me. So I want to know from Dave how he thinks the Blazers are going to handle that. And then Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian will join us at 5:20. Yeah, I'll get his take on the Trailblazers and how he thinks the Trailblazers are going to handle minutes the rest of the way. I do want to get his take on the Chicago Bears and their decision for a head coach. So we'll catch up with Aaron Fentress at 5:20. And, of course, you can reach out to me, 503-248-0620, or find me on social at Chad and Rip City. Now, last week on Thursday and Friday, I was literally the only soul inside the building here at iHeart Portland. And today there are exactly 3 people in the building. Myself, Brendan Slaughter, who's with me right now, and we have another DJ from Jammin' in the house. 3. And I didn't realize it, and then I remembered, it's President's Day. President's Day. And apparently the entire staff believes that's a good day to take off. Once again, 3 souls in the building as we get ready to kick off the normal work week tomorrow.
I mean, do you remember when it was a real holiday, Chad? Like President's Day and now it seems like it's kind of only a bank holiday and stuff like, kids were in school today, right? It's definitely interesting to see President's Day.
Well, I'm not sure I'm following you right now. I never got President's Day off at school
really?
or anything.
Yeah, no, I remember we had President's Day off pretty consistently growing, first 10, 15 years of my life. And then as I got older, it was kind of like, it turned out to be a day that if you had snow, the school could flex and then have school on President's Day if they chose to or not. So guess I found that kind of interesting.
No, in this business, I just get used to working all the time. So you don't get off days for President's Day. My daughter has winter break this week, so she wasn't on today anyways. But today is my daughter's birthday. So I would like to wish a very happy birthday to my sweetheart daughter, Kaylee, who turns 15 years old. My son will turn 22 later this month. They're both born in February. Kaylee on the 17th, Isaac on the 27th. And for Kaylee, I can still remember vividly the moment she was born, and I had a chance to hold her with my bare hands. And she was very tiny at the time, and now she's a freshman in high school and turning 15 years old, and now she's eligible to receive her driver's permit. I was informed that I will be the one to handle that process, and I will probably be the one to handle the majority of duties of being with her in the car as she learns how to drive. But today, she's with one of her friends, and they're out venturing around town doing a variety of different activities. and probably trying to find different ways to spend a lot of money. So Kaylee's out celebrating her birthday. And so happy birthday, Kaylee. I love you, and I hope you enjoy your day. So that's what's going on with me. Isaac will be 22 in 10 days as his birthday is on February 27th. And I'm still irritated at my daughter. I couldn't believe she did this. So she had another friend come over on Saturday, and I was out running a couple of errands. I had to go to the store. I had a golf lesson, and I had to get my car serviced, get the oil changed. So I told her, I said, okay, here's the deal. Make sure you take care of shots. Here's some food. You guys are all dialed in. I'll see you in a couple of hours. So I went out to take care of my errands, and then I got back to the crib, and later on, her friend left. Her dad came by to pick her up. And I was in my room just watching a little television and hanging out. And I was petting Puppy Shots. He was lying next to me on my bed. And then Kaylee comes in, and she's like, hi, Dad, how are you? And I'm like, fine. And she talks to me with a little small talk for a moment. And then she comes over to give Shots a kiss. And she starts petting him. And she's like, oh, look, how did this get here? He had a shock collar on him. Now, we do have a shock collar at home. I never use it, but as you know, with dachshunds, they tend to bark uncontrollably. Well, what we found is with Shots is that if you put the shock collar on him, even though it's not turned on and he's not going to get shocked, it's like the scarlet letter for him. If you put the shock collar on him, it makes him sad and he doesn't bark as much. Well, come to find out, Kaylee and her friend put the shock collar on Shots because he was barking too much when I wasn't there. And I'm like, wait a second. So you ignore him, and he's upstairs, and you go downstairs into your room with your friend, and yet because you're ignoring him, he barks too much. So your solution is to put the shock collar on him and continue to ignore him. So we had a long discussion about, hey, the shock collar is not something you utilize for Shots. I don't do it. I don't know why you have to do it, and stop ignoring your dog. This is what I was talking about when we originally got Shots. I knew that when we got the dog, that even though she begged me for him, my main concern was, wait a second, you're not going to be the one to take care of him. You're not going to be the one to fund the vet bills when they come through. You're not going to be the one to feed him, to do this, to do that, to do any of it. And even though they try to assure you that they're going to take care of business and they'll be a part of the process, as parents, we know that's not the case. And then sure enough, a couple of weeks after we got him, even though I didn't want him, he and I became best friends, and now I am happy to be his primary caregiver. So I just told her, I said, honey, you can't ignore the dog. And you don't resort to the shock collar because he's making too much noise. He's a dachshund. I've looked it up. He's a hound. He believes you're part of the pack. He believes I'm part of the pack. And anything that comes around or near the home, even if it's in the park next door or the road out in front, he's going to bark. That's what he's programmed to do. He will bark. He can't handle it. He barks. That's their main defense mechanism because they're tiny, but they got a loud voice. You do not shock collar Puppy Shots. So there you go. That's what's going on. So happy birthday to Kaylee. We'll keep things rolling. I do want to look through. I've picked out a few potential road trips in college football for Oregon, Oregon State, and one of my favorite teams, Arizona State. So we'll take a look at the football schedules. I do want to hear from Draymond Green, who was very critical of the NBA All-Star format this weekend in San Francisco. Trae Young shared his concerns. And I'll just tell you my simple solution for how to get this whole shebang back on track. And then we'll talk with Dave Deckard at 4:20, and then Aaron Fentress at 5:20. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. You can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. You can also pull the show up on YouTube. Just go to Rip City Radio 620 for our YouTube page. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, let's head out to the phones. Rip City Drive chat doing Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com at 4:20. And then Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian will join me at 5:20. You can find me on social at Chad Rip City. You can also call 503-248-0620. Now, this next individual, he sent me a special gift in the mail a couple of weeks ago. It was a Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and it's one of those new ones that's got like the computer chip inside of it. So it's got all the games preloaded on the machine. It's because I was talking about Contra with Burkhart on the radio. So I got it in the mail. I was like, well, this looks pretty cool. I hooked it up, and I've been playing Contra every night ever since I got it. So he has created not only an issue with my left and right thumbs, but he's also created a bad habit. But the good thing is I had one simple goal, to complete Contra, the original, without dying, which I have done. So now I got to figure out what else I'm going to do. Let's go out to Tony, who's out there in Boring somewhere. Tony, what's up, man? It's President's Day. Are you working on President's Day today? What are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm in construction. We only get like 4 holidays. So,
that's all right.
yeah, regular day for me. Yes. Hey, man, I'm just calling in to a little my take on the NBA All-Star Game. I always watch it. Always loved it. It's quite a show. The 3-point contest had all the drama that it normally does. That was pretty good. Came down the wire there with Buddy Hield and Tyler Hero. And thank God for Return of the Mac. That slam dunk contest. Like, I love when a guy, I know he missed the first one on the jump in the car, but like after that, when a guy can just like do technical dunks and finish it on the first dunk, it's highly impressive. That was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought the dunk contest was decent, and the 3-point competition, as long as we got good shooters out there, I'll continue to watch that because I love watching people who know how to stroke it, knock down threes in a very short period of time. So I thought that was good too, no question. What did you think about the game format with the little mini 3-team tournament to 40?
I liked it. It worked for the first 2 rounds, but I think it only worked because you had young players, and the young players were getting after it, and they wanted to win. So the old guys are like, well, no, we can't have that. So then they actually played defense. But then, when it came down to the finals, it was a bunch of older players, and it was just more of the same. So I don't know how they fixed that. First part was great. I thought, oh, this is awesome. This is going to work. I don't know. I think Kenny said, geez, there was like 5 blocks. We haven't had 5 blocks in the last 5 years. One other thing, though, I want to say, like Chris Paul, what he did, I always maintain, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But when it comes to the All-Star and exhibition, that was just such a bad look. That was so bad. I don't know what you thought of that, but I thought it was just terrible. Like that's not the time to do that. Like just do what you're supposed to do. I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. Well, why do you think it's so hard for the players just to play hard so we can have a regular All-Star game and we get the competition like we used to have in the past? Why is it so hard for them now?
It's probably like everything. It has to do with money. I think they just don't want to get, the older ones don't want to get showed up by the younger players. But then when you're, seeing, someone that's more of your equal, I just don't think they care as much anymore. I don't know. I thought we had it, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, wait, and what Chuck's team was getting, was, I don't know, they were down big, and they just felt like they couldn't come back and win. But if they would have locked down, I think, and tried, I think it would have been competitive, but just got out of the gate, off wrong, and then it was more of the same, unfortunately. And maybe it had been tight down the stretch. Maybe we would have saw, a little more in defense, but we won't know.
All right, bro. Well, I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of your workday, Tony.
You too. Thanks for taking the call.
You got it. There's Tony and Boring sharing his thoughts. So that's a big-time viewer of All-Star Weekend. Yeah, 3-point competition. I'll watch that every year. I enjoy watching guys shoot. It's fun. I like watching guys who are marksmen, who can fill it up, especially with the format where you got to be on point, with the racks and so forth. Let's go out to Jackie in Sherwood. Jackie, appreciate the phone call. What's on your mind?
Hey, happy Monday, Chad.
Yeah, you too. Happy Monday, Jackie.
I was thinking back a couple weeks ago, and I saw and heard Adam Silver on Dan Patrick. And I feel like he's just delusional that there's not a problem with the product overall. You know what I'm saying? It's like he can't come up with anything to create appointment viewing. I mean, it used to be, I'd make time over the weekend to watch this thing. And yesterday, Chad, it was just unwatchable. Absolutely unwatchable.
Yeah.
The only thing that I found good was the intro music to the players, with some of the OG rap music. That was about the highlight of the thing for me yesterday.
Yeah. It is. It's become unwatchable. The All-Star Weekend over the last 20 years has been basically unwatchable. It's unfortunate, but it's definitely true. And I think for the commissioner, I saw the interview that you're referring when he was with Dan Patrick. And he's in a difficult spot because he knows he's got issues because ratings are declining. But when he's speaking in a public forum, especially after just signing a new deal with his new TV partners, he doesn't want to, openly just deal in brutal honesty with where the league is at. I think they're looking at some different things. I just wonder if they've been searching in some wrong areas to try and find a way to reconnect with people. And that's a bit of an issue. But like you said, I think for us locally here in Portland, we know the TV ratings are up big time from year over year because people have access to the games now. I think for me and the Trailblazers, I would imagine you're the same way. If the Trailblazers are competing and they are exciting and they're winning basketball games, people will tune in for sure. But the league as a whole is going through some issues right now.
I agree. Totally.
But at least they had the good intro music for the players.
That was really surprising. That was nice.
Yeah, it's tough, Jackie, with the game. Yeah, there's a lot of work. A lot of work that needs to be done. I thought the weekend was better than what it had been. That's not saying much. But the format that we saw is a bit of a joke. In fact, let's take a listen to a couple of different guys. Let's start with Draymond Green. He was on TV, and he shared his honest assessment.
You work all year to be an all-star, and you get to play up to 40, and then you're done. This is so unfair to Victor Wembanyama, who just took this game really seriously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just took this game really seriously. When you talk about chasing after the points records, Melo and Kobe and all these guys who've had great scoring nights, they don't get the opportunity to do that with this game. Also, we can watch some rising stars. We're about to watch the Olympic team. Now we get the treat of watching the Olympic team play against a U19 team. Come on, what are we doing?
Scale of 1 to 10, your thoughts of the format?
10 being the best?
Yes.
A 0. Sucks.
There you go. That's Draymond Green. He said it sucked. Well, the funny thing is, I agree with everything he said, with the format and the way it was set up. The problem is his generation of players is responsible for destroying the game. So the players do have to take some accountability in allowing the All-Star game to get to where it's at. But I don't need the game broken down into 3, mini games and to have some type of tournament style. I just want the best of the best, the absolute all-stars of the game on the same floor playing a regular basketball game, competing against one another, trying to show each other up, trying to win. Just get some competition, especially as the game gets into the second half and the fourth quarter. Let's go out to Bob in Salem. Bob, long time no chat. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad. I heard you say you were going to talk about some potential road trips. I was going to tell you what I schedule. Being a Ducks fan in September, we're going to go to the September 27th Penn State game. But being the last week of Major League season, we're going to go see the Yankees and the Orioles in Baltimore starting on Wednesday before the Penn State game. Then drive up to Philly on Thursday night to watch the Marlins and the Phillies, drive over to Penn State on Friday, maybe there Saturday, and then finish our trip driving over Sunday to go to Yankee Stadium on the last day of the season. That's how we're going to maximize that trip.
Okay, don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you about this trip for just a moment. First off, I've been to Yankee Stadium on a couple of different occasions. I went on a trip last year for the Dodgers-Yankees in July, and I had a fabulous time. I have not been to Baltimore, but Dwight told me that the new Camden Yards, ever since they redid the ballpark there, he said it's one of the best places in Major League Baseball to go to, so I'm excited for you there. And I'm looking at the Oregon schedule right now, and if you look at their Big Ten schedule, I think the 2 best games on their schedule for road trip travel would be the Penn State game. I think that's probably number 1, so I think you chose the best game. But the next game after that, I would probably choose Iowa because of their tradition there at Kinnick Stadium over the Northwestern game. So how would you slate those? Would you say Penn State's 1 followed by Iowa in the Northwestern, or did you see it a different way?
No, I agree with you 100%. Iowa was on my radar too. we just had an opportunity when we do these road trips. We like you do, like to try to maximize and go to as many different things because I don't get to the East Coast like that very often. So it just happened to coincide with the last week of baseball. But Iowa would have been right up there also.
Of any road trips you've taken in the past to go watch the Ducks, like what's been your favorite road trip thus far, Bob?
Oh, well, definitely. I went back to the Horseshoe in Columbus a couple of years ago, and
dude, how was
watched when
that?
Oregon beat them.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic, and the people at this Ohio were very nice. They of course wished us all luck before and afterwards. They were very courteous. They didn't really think we were going to win the game, but they were nice to us, and we had a good time. And we also chose to go up to Canton to the NFL Hall of Fame the day before, so that's what we did on that trip. So that's been my favorite one so far. Although many years, we started doing this back in the 90s. We went to when the Ducks in '93. We went to a game in Illinois, and we saw the White Sox and the Cubs play on that trip, and then finished it off with the Bears game. So. But the Ohio State's probably been my funnest road trip for the Ducks so far, just because of the win.
Oh, that's awesome. How far was the drive from Columbus to Canton to get to the Hall of Fame?
It took about hour and a half, hour 45, so it wasn't too bad.
Now, would you recommend visiting Canton for the Hall of Fame? Was that pretty sweet?
It was. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it a second time, but it was nice the first time. I was more intrigued by and fascinated by all the old information about the league first starting and looking at all the gear and people than it was more about the modern times that I knew about. That it kind of surprised me. I thought it'd been the other way around, and I was spent more time on the older things. That was a lot more fascinating to me. But it was a great area.
Now, I will say, if you go to Yankee Stadium, one thing I like to do when I visit these new ballparks in different cities is I like to get the ballpark tour. But I will say that I would not waste your money on the Yankee Stadium ballpark tour. It was very underwhelming, which was surprising to me. They do take you out and you get a chance to walk around and take pictures at Monument Park, but the overall tour was lacking. My two favorite tours, I think the two best tours I've been on so far were the Dodger Stadium tour and the Coors Field tour, which was fabulous, but the Yankee Stadium tour was underwhelming, unfortunately.
Well, can you see the monuments without doing a tour?
I believe so,
not?
Yes. No, I think you can go out and see Monument before the game without the tour.
Okay. Yeah, and so we're looking forward to that. I've never been to them. So, and hey, in closing, I've always enjoyed you. I've listened to you since you were back in the radio days when you call the Rome Show and do all the fun tidbits. And I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you and congratulate you for how far you've come in your career and to where you're at now, like doing the Blazer, games and your components and the compassion you show with it. So very proud and congrats to you.
It's pretty funny. I still can't believe, those ideas. None of that stuff for the Rome Show was planned. I would just come up with something and create some type of crazy parody song or whatever. I'm like, I should try that and see how it goes. And so, yeah, it was fun. Just experimenting.
It was a very fun time. And in closing, you and I met there in Portland going to the Eagles down there years ago.
Oh, yes.
And have you gone to see him? I'm going for the second time to see him at the Sphere because I don't know if they're touring anymore.
Well, I haven't been. They're still doing shows down at the Sphere. I don't know if they'll have more dates. I have not been to the show at the Sphere yet, but I've seen them a total of 21 times total.
Well, you've got me. I'm at 13. We saw him at the Sphere in October. I'm going back in April just to do one more time with a friend who's never gone to see him. So the Sphere is pretty interesting and nice.
Well, what I was told,
it's a little overwhelming in a way.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it was overwhelming, but the assessment I got, tell me if this is true, is one of the things that makes the Sphere interesting is that because of the vivid and incredible imagery with the screens and everything, what I was told was for someone that went to the Eagles show is that you go into it. He went into it, and for years and years, you're listening to the Eagles' music. So it could be Hotel California or, Take It Easy or all these things. So what happens is, like with any of us, you create these images in your mind of what you think the song is about. And then he goes, when I saw the images that were being played, like during Hotel California, it blew away any idea of what I thought it was in my mind because I had the bright, vivid images in front of me. So did the imagery from the Sphere impact the way that you had visualized the song in your mind all those years of listening to it?
Yeah, it's completely, I won't say completely different, but yeah, different than I was expecting. So I agree with that assessment they gave you. It's pretty interesting.
How's the audio sounding there? Pretty amazing, the acoustics?
Yeah, they're really good. That screen behind is, in some songs, it's like I said, overwhelming because just some things are just like, you don't really want to look up. And when it's moving a lot, sometimes you can almost get like you get seat on
Queasy,
seasick.
yeah.
Dizzy just sitting in a chair. Yeah, queasy, but it was still pretty fascinating. It made for a good show. I mean, you and I have both seen them a lot of times, and they're always a dynamite show to see. But it was a different component that I hadn't experienced before, so it was worth it for sure.
Yeah, I'm sad because, in all my years, I love live music like you do. I think that they're the best live show that I've seen because I know what I'm going to get every time I go. So, it's sad that our guys are aging now and either retiring or passing away because music like that's never going to come around again.
Agreed. So that's why I'm just going to enjoy it while I can one more time.
Well,
so.
Bob, you got to do me a
Well,
favor. You got to do me a favor. After this trip in September, I want you to call back in because I want to live vicariously through you with your experiences. Because you have to admit, man, when you see it on TV, like being there for a potential wideout at Beaver Stadium, I think that would be pretty awesome. I'm excited for you.
All right. Well, we'll touch base on it. So thanks for the time.
You got it, buddy. There's Bob. He's got his trip planned, and he's going down to see the Eagles again at the Sphere. Dwight saw him down at the Sphere recently, said it was pretty epic. Who else was? Someone was he was up in my grill. Oh, it was Mark Mason. He tracked me down. I see Mark over at the games all the time. And he'll come up and say hi to me up on, when I'm doing the show up there at the Pines beforehand or whatever. But, he comes up on me. But the other day he came up with he was on a mission from God. He rolled up on me. He's like, hey, have you seen the Eagles at the Sphere yet? I'm like, no. And he's like, well, why not? You need to get down there. He had just seen them, and he was showing me video and the pictures and everything like that. And so I was blown away. And I told you, I'm still a little frustrated with the whole situation with the potential tracks that are being utilized during certain parts of the show. It's kind of shied me away a little bit. That's all. I still love them. Don Henley is still my musical favorite in terms of, playing the drums and singing and, the music he's created. But that whole stuff we talked about last year with the tracks, and I should have known. You get people that are aging. It's like, wow, they still sound amazing. Yeah, there's reasons for that, moron. I'm just too gullible. Like I told you, ignorance is bliss. There are certain things I've decided I don't want to know about. If you're faking it, if it's not real, I don't want to know. I'm better off just believing what I believe. I don't need the truth on everything. I mean, why? Why ruin the world that I live in? If I'm happy, even if whether it's true or not, if I don't know, does it really matter? I mean, seriously, you know what I'm talking about. It's like I don't need to know that. But yeah, I've seen them 21 times. They're great, and I'm happy for Bob. He's going to go down and see him at the Sphere. I've not seen a show at the Sphere. I've talked to multiple people that have, and I haven't heard someone say, well, it really wasn't worth the experience. I wish I wouldn't have paid the money for that. There are some things where going in, it's like, I don't know what this is going to be like exactly, but I know it's going to be pretty awesome. All right. I am pretty excited about the Minute Work, Christopher Cross, and Toto tour that's going to be happening this summer. Tony and Boring's going to Heart. They're going to be at Moda Center here real soon. I was just listening to some live music of the two Hart sisters together. They've sounded great for a long time. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com at 4:20. Aaron Finchers of the Oregonian at 5:20. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number if you want to jump on board. And then tomorrow, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. We'll do that at 5 tomorrow. Your chance to win tickets for the Trailblazers and Hornets at Moda Center. Yeah, Tony just texted me. He said, "Oh, I forgot to ask you. Did you see Cher for SNL 50?" And I'm like, "Yep, I sure did. She performed If I Could Turn Back Time." And she still looks and sounds fabulous. I mean, she's freaking 78 years old. And like I told you, there's something that's very appealing with the way she commands herself on the stage. I mean, she is confident, she oozes sexiness, and she was out there crushing it. I think she was sitting next to Kevin Costner, one of my other faves during the event, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Cher was awesome. Props to her. 78 years old and still getting after it. And the confidence that she has when she's on stage. I mean, you can just tell she's right at home. So I'm a fan, and I thought she was terrific. And I just got this text message wanting to know the first time. How old was I when I saw the Eagles in concert the very first time? And I think I was 19. So when they did the Hell Freezes Over tour, my buddy Corey got us tickets, and it was supposed to be before the end of 94. But what happened is I think Glenn Frey got sick, and so they pushed back some of the tour dates. And so we were slated to see them in Tacoma at the Tacoma Dome back in January of 95. So that's the very first time. And I went up there, and I had never been to an Eagles show before. And I remember what we did. We stopped at some grocery store, like just a mile down from the Tacoma Dome. It was kind of in a shady area. I was 19, but my buddy Corey had a pretty sweet fake ID. I think the statute of limitations have passed on this, but he was pretty smart. His brother was older, so he used his brother's DMV information, and we rolled down to the mall. I think it maybe Clackamas Town Center, one of these places that had a DMV in the mall, and he was able to get an ID in his brother's name for the fake ID. So he stopped. We got some wine coolers and hit a couple of those before we went to the show. And I saw him, and I was blown away at how awesome the Hell Freezes Over tour was, that I immediately got tickets for the show a couple of nights later down in Portland at the Coliseum. So I went to see him there. So I saw him twice in the Hell Freezes Over tour back in early 95. And then there was a bit of a break until 2002. They went on tour again, and this time was at Moda Center. And so I got tickets for that. I saw him in 2002. And then the following year, this is when my brother was living up in the Seattle area, or I think technically Woodinville. Went up for a weekend to visit him and visit some family. And the Eagles are playing a show in Auburn, Washington. They have a outdoor, amphitheater, very similar to the one that's in Clark County. So I saw him up in the White River Amphitheater in Auburn. And then there was another break, 6 years. I saw him in Salt Lake, and this was a concert they put on at Rio Tinto Stadium, where Real Salt Lake plays their soccer games. First time I had been to Salt Lake, I believe. Flew in. Airport was nice. It's arguably the cleanest downtown I've ever seen in the history of my life. And they have a light rail. I stayed at a hotel right there in downtown. They have a light rail that takes you straight out to Rio Tinto. And I saw them in concert there. And this is when they had come out with the Long Road Out of Eden album, which was their first album they had put together since of all new works since late 70s. And then I saw them frequently over the next several years. They came back to town in 2010 for the Long Road Out of Eden tour. That was the concert where I took my mom and dad and the Godfather and his wife, and I took my boy Steve, and we had a limousine, and Dwight wanted a Route 44 Diet Coke at Sonic. So we went out to Sonic in Hillsboro, got the Route 44 Diet Coke, and then the limo dropped us off at Moda, and we went and checked him out. And then in 2012, I saw him down in Vegas at MGM. That was a good show. Not as long. I think they did 20 songs that night, so I was a little bit bitter on that. But I didn't have to pay for tickets because I knew the lady that worked in concierge there, and she hooked me up. That was pretty sweet. And then I saw him in Seattle in 2013 when they kicked off the History of the Eagles tour, where they brought back some of the old band members. So I saw him in Seattle in 2013. I saw him early 2014 in LA, and I saw him in August in 2014 in Portland. And then there was another extended break because Glenn Fry passed away. Didn't know if the band was going to get back together. And then Don Henley said that we could do it if we had someone with the blood of Glenn Fry in the band. So they brought his son Deacon in, and they did the Classic East out in New York. And that was my first trip to New York. I met the Godfather and his wife out there. I went to a Yankee game, went over to Citi Field and caught the show. It was Doobie Brothers, followed by Steely Dan, followed by the Eagles. That was a great night. And then they came later, about a year after that, in Portland. I saw them in 2018. I went down later that year in L.A. and caught them on back-to-back nights in 2018. They actually ended up filming that concert there in L.A. at the Forum on, I think, the Saturday night, and then they replayed that on ESPN during the COVID time. So I saw them twice in L.A. in 2018. In 2019, I saw them twice down in Las Vegas when they kicked off that new tour, the Hotel California tour, where they played the entire album front to back. So I saw them twice in 2019 down in Vegas. And then early 2020, I went back to New York and saw them on back-to-back nights at Madison Square Garden. And then Dwight and I went down to Phoenix in 2021. And then I saw him in L.A. in 21. And I went to Vegas in 22 and saw him with Steve. And then I saw him the last time they were in Portland, which was back in 2023. So those are the dates. Those are the concerts I've been to see the Eagles. So 21 shows over the last, 31 or 25, 30 years. So 21 times over the last 30 years. And they're great. But, like any of you, I just love seeing live music. And so over the course of time, I've had a chance to see many different concerts. In terms of shows, the Eagles would be my favorite, but I've seen a lot of concerts at a lot of different venues, and I do love live music. One of my favorite shows was some dinner theater down in Thousand Oaks, California, close to where Steve used to live when he was down in Cali. He took me down there, went to a couple of Dodger games, but the Toto was playing a show at this dinner theater, and it was like really small. I mean, an intimate setting. And so when we rolled up on the parking lot ahead of time, we heard the band jamming. So we walked in and watched them go through their warm-up and play a couple of songs. And then later we're at the show where everyone's at their table and Toto's up on stage, but it's like this small venue. It's like a little, the size of a normal restaurant. And they played a show there, which is really cool to get that type of intimate setting. And then we had a chance to meet the band members after that show. I think that was back in 2001. That was a pretty cool setting. I mean, in terms of intimate setting, a lot of these bigger venues, they hold, 10, 15, sometimes 20,000 or more. One of the worst nights, though, was in that stupid owner of the Knicks, James Dolan, when they were in Portland. He comes out and he's opening up for the Eagles. JD and the Straight Shot is the name of his band, and he was awful. But he didn't think he was awful because he kept sharing a lot of stories about his songs before he would play them. I'm thinking, dude, you know how many bands would kill for the opportunity to open for the Eagles? It helps to be super mega rich, I guess. You can get whatever you want. JD and the Straight Shot opening up for the Eagles. Hey, James, I didn't think I could find something that you do worse than run the Knicks, but I actually do. Your band. No offense, of course. All right, we'll keep things rolling. When we come back, I do want to talk about some of those road trips. Beavers have a very interesting football schedule. The Ducks, my dad's alma mater, is coming to Eugene this year, which is going to be cool. I'm going to have to take him down to that. And then Dave Deckard at 420. You got the Rip City Drive.
Here's what you need to know from the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk. Your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
All right, 4 o'clock chat here. All-Star Weekend is now in the rear view. The NBA stretch run will kick off Wednesday. The Trailblazers in action Thursday with Luka and the Lakers in town. Tip-off from Moda at 7. Our coverage will begin with the Rip City Drive live at 3 from Moda Center. Chris Burkhart will have game day at 5 o'clock. Dave Deckard will join me at 4:20 today, and we'll talk with Aaron Finchers of the Oregonian at 5:20 from College Hoops. Oregon State now 18-9 with the win over Pacific on Saturday. They're going to be at Pepperdine coming up on Thursday. The Ducks have won back-to-back games. They topped Rutgers yesterday. Next up, at Iowa on Wednesday. Auburn remains at number 1 for the 6th straight week. And Caitlin Clark's agent says it's impossible to pay his client her true worth to the WNBA. More of the Rip City Drives coming at you right now. Don't forget Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday tomorrow at 5 o'clock. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com. We got to talk about Blazers Edge Night, which is right around the corner. And then I want to get his take on what he thinks the Blazers will do with some of their veteran players now that we're past the All-Star break. Will they open up more minutes for their younger players? And as we have, 28 more games to go in the regular season. Dave Deckard is going to join us at 4:20. Aaron Finchers of the Oregonian will stop by and talk with us at 5:20. You can reach out to me on social at Chad in Rip City. You can also call the show at 503-248-0620. Now, if you have any input on this next discussion, I would love to hear from you. You can call the show or hit me up on social media. Bob called in earlier and was talking about a trip that he's got planned for Oregon football this year. He's going to make the trip to Penn State to check out the Ducks and the Nittany Lions, which I think will be an incredible venue and a place to go. We've seen what that place looks like during the playoffs, during a whiteout. It's one of the great scenes in all of college football. And for me, I'm all about college football right now. It's my number one. I love going to different cities, different towns, different venues, and checking out college football games because I like to see what the local flavor is like, what type of traditions they have, what the food scene is like around the stadium, checking out the different towns. Every college town, what's great, unlike the NFL, when you go to different NFL games, there are places that have some of their own traditions, but it's much more of a corporate feel. And I'm not knocking on the NFL for that. It's just that when you go to an NFL stadium, they all are very similar. They all kind of feel the same. But with college football, it's totally different. The way a game feels in Corvallis is totally different than Eugene. Or if you go to Tempe with Arizona State, that's totally different than Boulder, Colorado. Or if you go down south to Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, every place has got its own tradition, its fan base, and the different things that they do. And I love getting a chance to travel around and check out some of these different venues. So with the Oregon football schedule this year, one home game that is of special interest to me is Oklahoma State. They're going to be at Eugene on September 6th. The Ducks' first game will be Montana State on August 30th. And then Oklahoma State in the next week on September 6th. My dad, of course, graduated from Oklahoma State. And he got his 4-year degree and his master's work done there. They lived in Stillwater during that time. My mom cut hair to help pay ends meet while my dad was finishing up school. And I, of course, grew up in Oklahoma. And my Nana was from Ponca City, which is about a 30 to 40-minute drive from Stillwater. Now, I'm not an Oklahoma State Cowboy fan myself. I'm a Sooner fan, or at least that's what I was when I was growing up because that was the team in town. Now, Oklahoma State is good, but Oklahoma's been the dominant program and has by far the majority of the state in their corner. But my dad went to Oklahoma State. The only thing that sucks about that is that I always wanted to go to Oklahoma games when I was younger and we lived there, and my dad wouldn't do it. He's like, no, we'll go to an Oklahoma State game. I'm like, well, all right, whatever. He would never take me to a Sooner game. I understand it now that I'm older. And I like watching Cowboy games with my dad now because I know he enjoys it. And my Uncle Truman is a big Cowboy fan. So I like to watch the games with my dad. And I've turned him into an Arizona State fan because of Cam Scatterbo, so he likes to watch the ASU games with me. But on the Ducks schedule, the home game I'm looking at, Oklahoma State, for personal reasons. But of the road trips, the three best road games that I see on the schedule, Iowa, in no particular order, Iowa, Penn State, I think those are the two best. And then Northwestern, just because it's kind of a unique spot. But I would say Penn State is by far the number one spot. If you're taking a road trip and you want to go watch the Ducks play, I would say Penn State 1, followed by Iowa number 2. They have a lot of great traditions there at Kinnick Stadium. And then Northwestern, just because of the uniqueness of it being Northwestern. Those are the three I see on the Ducks schedule of great interest. Now, for the Beavers, as they've done a pretty good job of piecing together a schedule, they've got some unique road games. They're going to be down in middle part of September in Lubbock, Texas, to play Texas Tech. Now, I have not been to a game at Texas Tech. My cousin April graduated from Tech, so she's a Red Raider. But I've driven through there. When I was on that RV road trip down to the kickoff of the college football season back in 2011 when Oregon played LSU, I got an RV from Power Kia down in Salem. And it was me and a few other dudes, and we left the dealership in an RV, and we went to Nevada. We went to Reno. We went to Las Vegas. We went to New Mexico. And then we made the trek across West Texas, which is some of the most desolate part of the country you could ever imagine. It smells like you think it would smell. A bunch of cow pies and not a lot of anything else. And you drive through West Texas and you go past Lubbock. And we made our trip all the way into Dallas. But I've never been to Texas Tech. So that is an interesting trip to me. But they also have a couple other unique trips. They're going to be at Appalachian State October 4th. Now, I've never been to a game at Appalachian State. I know Brendan's thinking about heading out there. But that would be a unique spot. And Appalachian State's got a long and a storied tradition with their program. They've done a very good job. But the one that has the most interest to me is November 15th, Oregon State at Tulsa. Now, I know most of you are listening saying, well, why the hell would I care about going to Tulsa? Well, the answer is you wouldn't. But I would because that's where I was born. And my Uncle Howard and Aunt Vicky lived just a couple of minutes away from the old Skelly Stadium, as they used to call it. And keep in mind, Steve Largent went to Tulsa, all right? So they do have some greatness. But the whole campus and the setup now is really nice. And I was born just about 5 minutes away from where they play their football games at. But they're going to be in Tulsa on November 15th. They do have a trip to the Palouse to take on Washington State, Texas Tech. But I would say in order of the most interest, probably Texas Tech, Appalachian State, and then Tulsa. But I'm looking at the Tulsa game. That would be interesting to go back. And like I said, I still got family there. Now, Arizona State, I went over the schedule with Steve. I think we've kind of narrowed in on the games we want to go to. And we're still trying to settle in on the other one. Their non-conference schedule is not great. Northern Arizona at home, then they're at Mississippi State, and they get Texas State, which is a pretty good program, on September 13th. So we're going to hit an early season game, Texas State, on September 13th. And then we're looking at Texas Tech on October 18th. And then we come to the end of the season. We want to go back to Boulder. I've been to a couple of games in Boulder for the Buffaloes. The reason why you want to go to Boulder is because it's beautiful. The stadium and the scene and the mountains, the foothills, it's spectacular up there in Boulder. But the problem is that game is the week before the Territorial Cup, which is going to be in Tempe this year. And we've been to the Territorial Cup multiple years in a row. So we're definitely going to go to 3 games. The Territorial Cup for sure, Texas Tech and Texas State down in Tempe. And then we're going to wait and see how things shake out with the Colorado game. The advantage of going to Colorado is that I've got family there, so we got a place to stay. Boulder's beautiful. And, of course, you got Coach Prime and that whole scene. But Arizona State's going to have a terrific football team this year. They'll have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they've done a heck of a job in the transfer portal to continue to build their team. But this is one of my favorite things to do now in life is to get the schedules and to plan the road trips, which games you want to go to. And then what we do, like when we're going down to Phoenix, is we'll overlay the 2 schedules, Arizona and Arizona State. And when you get later in the year, early in the season, like September, early October, they have to play all their games at night. So you'd play both Arizona and Arizona State at night if they're both playing at home that weekend because it's too hot. But you get into November, they'll do a split where you have an afternoon game, and a lot of times they'll do the other game at night. And so we like to do the double dip where you go to one game and then drive to Tucson, or go to one game in Tucson and then drive back to Tempe for the other one to do the double dip. And then we'll also take a look at the Arizona Cardinals schedule as well to see if you can make it like a trifecta, get 2 or 3 games into the same weekend if the NFL is going to be in action that same weekend. But we have to wait until, late April, early May before we get the official schedule release from the NFL, and then we can start to plan accordingly. So there you have it. That's kind of what I'm looking at with the schedules, but very interesting. Now, Brendan Slaughter, who covers the Oregon State Beavers for Beavers Edge, what road trips are most interesting to you? Is it Appalachian State? Is it Tulsa? Is it somewhere else? What are you looking at on the schedule for a road trip you might make?
Yeah, Chad, you hit him. I mean, Appalachian State's the one that I'm targeting now. I was looking at the schedule, and at first Texas Tech appealed to me for a minute. Then the reasons you just stated, I'm like, okay, probably a little different than Eastern Texas. So, and hot that time of year too. So, I've got some friends that live in North Carolina, and they're like, come on out. It's it's intriguing. I've heard Boone is a very nice little college town, very Corvallis-esque, kind of nestled in, kind of the Appalachian Mountains, which is kind of cool.
I've never been to the Carolinas, but my dad told me it's beautiful out there. Great countryside.
Yeah, no, I've heard the same thing. And, just a part of the country I've never been to, being an Oregonian, so would be excited for that. And then along the same lines, Chad, like you, I still have some family in Oklahoma as well. And I know that some of my family will be going down to that Tulsa game. TBD on Brendan, but I'm targeting both those games right now.
Very interesting. All right, there you go. So plan your trips accordingly. I love planning those type of trips.
It's awesome. I mean, when you can get, as Chad mentioned, whether it's friends, family, whatever, when you can get people who have, different schedules, maybe you don't see all the time. It's like, what I was able to do this last year when I met up with some family down in Reno. Oregon State, Nevada didn't go particularly well, but it was still an awesome time to meet up with people you don't always see, go to a game. So I'm with you, Chad. It's a lot of fun to look at the schedule and plan out where to go.
Now, you went last year, didn't you do like a family trip down to down to Reno for the Nevada game?
Yeah, so met up with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we went down there, and it was, that was the first time I had been a spectator at an Oregon State game, and many, many, many years. So that was a lot of fun despite the result. I love being able to travel. It's like you said, colleges have that different flavor. Like you get to a stadium, you're like, oh, check this out, or food, or just, eyesight angles, or, all these unique things. So I'm with you. I definitely like playing the field in that regard.
All right, there you go. And college football, we can't wait for it to begin. What are we, like 6 months away from the start of a new football season? That's too long.
Hey, Chad, we got spring football in 3 weeks? That'll satisfy the itch.
Yeah, spring football is not far away either. All right, Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, is going to join us next. We'll talk about Blazers Edge Night, which is always very special, and we'll get his take on the approach that the team will take the rest of the way down the stretch with 28 games to go. I'm Chad Doing. You got the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, joining me now from BlazersEdge.com, he is the man behind the site, my good friend Dave Deckard, who is back. Dave, good afternoon. Thanks for coming back on.
No problem at all. Are you guys keeping warm over there?
Yeah, we had a couple of days with some snow and some icy conditions on Thursday and Friday, but we made it through, and now everything's back to normal with temperatures up in the mid-50s. How are things up in your neck of the woods?
Oh, about as cold as a Blazers three-point shooting, but it'll get better soon.
Well, let's start with this. The trade deadline just recently came and passed. I would imagine no surprises to you that Portland stood pat. What were your takeaways?
I mean, there are not a lot of takeaways to have that we didn't have in the summer. And we said back then that the Blazers could make moves this year, but they're under no pressure to. Contractually, they've got all their important players under contract. Nobody's even at an expiring contract at this point. DeAndre Ayton will get there. Anthony Simons will get there. There'll be more pressure to move them over the coming year. But unless the Blazers got their socks knocked off, there was no pressure to make a deal at all. If you look at what was traded and who was traded over this trade deadline, there were a lot of trades in terms of quantity, but not a lot of huge quality trades. And you find that players in the Blazers market share, so to speak, like, where a Jeremy Grant would be or an Anthony Simons would be, weren't bringing back very much value at all. So why would Portland give up those players now for little value when they can take a swing again in the summer? More players will be available. More teams will be in the market. The Blazers themselves will have more room to wiggle with cap space and more roster spots open, perhaps. So everything made sense for them to wait another couple months and try again. That's pretty much what they did.
What I was interested that Joe Cronin had to say at his press conference, he talked about the conversations that take place at the deadline. Nothing materializes, but it kind of lays the groundwork for things that could happen during the summertime, and we've seen that happen with a couple of players. Denny Avdia last year, they were interested in getting him at the deadline. It didn't come together until draft night, and then same thing took place with Jeremy Grant. I'm wondering if he's able to lay the groundwork this time around for things we might see this summer.
I mean, who knows? Only he does for sure. And things like that happen, and new possibilities open up. Mm-hmm. All we know is it's easier to wiggle financially in the summer because you're not butting up against the luxury tax right then, because that tax is only calculated at the end of the year. If you make a trade at the trade deadline, there are no more moves possible before the end of the year, so you're going to accrue tax penalties. However, you can do it in the summer and figure you'll make later trades before the next trade deadline to get under the cap. Adds a little more flexibility. Also, you have roster members that you can cut during the summer or not re-sign that open up more roster spots for 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 deals that you just can't do right now without, again, going over the tax. So everything loosens up in June, basically, and July, and that's where the Blazers are going to aim.
You know, Dave, it's hard to know this for sure, but who would you say are probably the first two players that they would look to move summertime? Would it be Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant? Would it be somebody else? But based on the current roster construction, what would make the most sense?
I mean, the guy that's sticking out, who's producing well enough and was really part of this 10 of 11 streak that they had, his energy made a huge difference and his offense made a difference. That's DeAndre Ayton. But he's not consistent enough, and they're three deep at center right now. They probably want to move one of those, and it's not going to be Donovan Clingan because they just drafted him, and he's on a rookie deal. So either Ayton or Robert Williams III is likely to go. Ayton makes a lot more money, and he's not, he's not an all-star. He's not producing at a super high level. He's fine, but he's paid pretty significantly in the $33 million range. So I think they'd love to move him if they could. Plus, his contract will expire after next season, which means that they're likely to watch him walk if they don't get any value for him. And they're not likely to have cap space if he walks away because they're so far over the cap anyway. So that makes him a prime candidate for trading. Robert Williams III, of course, is the other one in that equation. Simons is probably in there somewhere. He makes $25 million, same thing. His contract is going to expire in another year after this one. So if they don't like him, then would be the time to move him as well.
Do you think they would need to keep one of the centers, whether it be Williams or Ayton, going into next year, so you have someone to eat up some of the innings next to Clingan?
Well, somebody has to do that, but Whether it has to be a highly paid player is up to debate. It really depends on how much you like Ayton. I mean, he does bring more offense than either of the other two. He has more talent. He has more ceiling. But he doesn't bring the defense. And like I said, he's paid a whole lot, which tends to fall outside of the eating innings category. You're looking for him to be a star, and he's just kind of not. If you're just going to eat innings, look at what happened at this trade deadline. There were a lot of centers that were available kind of in a lower mid-level who could take some minutes and not embarrass you out there. The Blazers could also go small. They have a lot of 6'8" players that they like to play on defense and switch a lot. Some of those guys can shoot three-pointers, which the centers can't do. So, look, there's an argument just to divest themselves of a center. And, you know, if they divested themselves of both, I'd be surprised and just kept clinging. But if they did decide to do that, they'd probably just go out and get a $6 or $8 million center to take their place.
We're talking with Dave Decker, BlazersEdge.com here on the Rip City Drive. How do you think they might handle the rest of the season now that we're past the All-Star break? Do you think we'll see a reduction in minutes for Ant and Grant to make way for more of the young guys? How do you think they'll play it this year?
Probably not over the next couple of weeks because they did have that winning streak, and you do want to keep morale up, and the name of the game is to win. However, I do expect that over time you will see the more experienced players either start to develop injuries or get less playing time marginally, and some of the younger players get, you know, more speculative minutes. That will increase, the tempo of that will increase if they start losing a bunch now. So, you know, it depends. If they go out and win 10 of 11 again, that's going to change things, but they're not likely to do that. So over time, I think they're likely to play the younger players, and you'll end up at the end of the season kind of like you were at the end of last season, except the younger players will be more experienced, of course, so hopefully they won't fall off a cliff this time.
You know, I'm excited. I really would like to see the young five, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, and Denny get a chance to start and play some games together the rest of the way. I'm hoping we get a chance to see it. Those five guys have excited me this year.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You don't have quite enough three-point shooting in there, although Scoot's renaissance when it comes to that sure helps. Mm-hmm. But the problem at the beginning of the year with that lineup would have been the guards would not have been good defensively, and also none of those guys would have played together, and three of those guys would have been, well, really four of them would have been really inexperienced on defense, and therefore coordinating would have been a real issue. Probably what would have happened is Tamani would have looked pretty good on defense. Everybody else would have looked very middling. And, you know, the Blazers would not have won many games, and you've got veterans on the bench who are grumpy about that and grumpy about not playing. The front office is grumpy about paying those veterans that much to not play. So it really wasn't practical up to this point. But if they lose over the next 2 or 3 weeks and, you know, they're going to shut down the season, then I think you'll probably see that lineup, and I think you'll see it perform better than it would have been at the beginning of the season because Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson have gotten a lot more experience. And, of course, Denny Avdia and Tamani Kamara have been in the starting lineup.
Of those five, Dave, what's been the most encouraging sign to you or something you're most excited about with that group?
I mean, it's got to be Tamani, right? I mean, because he's, at this point, nearing all-league defensive status, so his leap has been great. And when you pair him with Denny Avdia, what you have is you have a really nice defensive forward tandem. Now, the third guy who's been kind of a secret in there has been Jeremy Grant, whose offense hasn't been as great. But when he's in there with those two, now you can do a lot of switching schemes, and you have three defensive positions that are really covered. You put in Donovan Klingon, and now that goes to 4, and now all the pressure's off of Anthony Simon or Scoot Henderson at the point, and the team actually looks pretty decent defensively compared to where they were. That's the exciting development, the solidity of the defense. We haven't seen that in Portland for a long, long time, and that lineup combination has it. Now, if they do get rid of Jeremy Grant, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that defensive integrity. If they have, for instance, 2 forwards and a center who are good defenders, but neither of the guards are, let's see if that holds up.
All right, Lakers are going to be in town on Thursday with Luka and LeBron. What are your thoughts on the Mavericks trading Luka to the Lakers?
I mean, it shocked me as well as everybody. I mean, we saw it really early, but we held on publishing it or republishing it just to make sure, like everybody else, it was real. So I think nobody expected it. I think Anthony Davis getting injured is really unfortunate for Dallas because I do believe that Dallas would have had a chance to do something this year if he was healthy. However, the other way I'm a little suspicious of, simply because LeBron James is great when he's ball dominant. I mean, part of his secret sauce is was basically leading the league in assists for part of the season and still, top 5, even as it is. So he likes the ball in his hands. Luka Doncic excels with the ball in his hands. If you'll remember, it took Luka and Kyrie Irving at least a year to get settled with each other in Dallas. Now that process is going to happen over again in LA, and I'm not sure that adding those two together is going to get the best out of both. So I think it's wait and see with the Lakers. However, I don't think that's going to matter when they play the Blazers. Either LeBron or Luka should be able to carve Portland apart, and it's going to be a real hard game on Thursday.
All right, Dave Decker, BlazersEdge.com here on the Rip City Drive. Blazers Edge Night, which is my favorite night of the year, every year at Moda Center. And somehow, some way, you guys were able to come up with the Cavaliers game this year, which is fabulous, Dave.
Yep, it's the night when we send kids who are underserved in the Portland area to see the Blazers play. The Cavaliers is a great game. We have teachers, principals, coaches, counselors write in and ask if they can take their kids. A lot of them, or all of them really, work in underserved school districts. These kids wouldn't be able to go. Some of them can't even afford it. Other people can't marshal the transportation or chaperones or whatever. They get to go with their friends. They get to go as a group, and it's great for the adults who get to take them, who have worked hard with them all year. This is kind of like a reward for their class. It is fantastic for the kids, but here's the thing. The Blazers don't donate those. They make them available to us. Readers of our website and your listeners and people around the Portland area buy those from the Blazers to donate to the event. Now, right now, at last check, we were well over 400 tickets unsold. And here's the problem with that. There are two of them, really. The deadline is in less than 2 weeks from now. The Blazers will otherwise take those away and make those available for public sale instead of to our charity. And also, it prevents us really from being able to set the event because we have to actually have the tickets in order to tell these students and teachers or whatever that they can go. So until those tickets get sold, everything's on hold. Fortunately, buying the tickets is easy. You go to BlazersEdge.com. Right on the front of the site, it says Blazers Edge Night Update. You can click on that article. In it is a link to the Blazers website. You buy the tickets directly from them, just as if you were buying them for yourself, and they go into our bin for the charity event. So if you could help us out, that would be great. There are a lot of kids waiting. There are a lot of adult chaperones waiting to make sure they're going to be able to take their kids, and we want to tell them yes.
All right, you can go to BlazersEdge.com right now, and I'm looking at the story right now. It's right there on the front page. It says, important Blazers Edge Night Update. If you hit that link to the article and you scroll down, you'll find the link to get right to the ticket site. And it's very easy to buy tickets. And as Dave said, they still have 400 that need to be sold. They've got 2 weeks to do so before they get released for sale to the public. It's Dave Deckard, BlazersEdge.com, here on the show. Well, Dave, as always, man, I appreciate the time, and enjoy your next couple of days off, and then we'll get ready for the stretch run.
Yeah, well, Blazers Edge never sleeps, so look to us for analysis and stuff. But most important, if you like it, help us out with those tickets. It's not for us; it's for all your friends and neighbors who otherwise wouldn't get to go to the game.
Yeah. And there's nothing like seeing the eyes of a youngster when he walks into the bowl for the very first time at an NBA game. Man, it's the best.
Absolutely indescribable.
All right, Dave, you're the best, man. We'll catch up soon, and I appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Chad. Appreciate it.
All right, there's Dave Deckard. Good dude, and the man behind BlazersEdge.com. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And again, that story is right there on the front page of BlazersEdge.com. Right at the top, you'll see a picture of Joe Cronin, and then Diagonal to that to the right is the important Blazers Edge Night update. Hit that, and you'll find the link to be able to buy tickets. Even if you just buy a couple of tickets, that's 2 more kids that get to go to a game that otherwise would not be able to. And I love seeing their eyes. And it's pretty cool that tonight will be the night when they'll have a chance to watch the Cavs, one of the best teams in the NBA, taking on the Trailblazers. My favorite night, I think it was back in 2017 against Philly. That was the night when Nurkic had the 20-point, 20-rebound game. He went crazy, and the use of Nurkic chants were coming down. That was back in Nurk Fever, and the kids got to see that. So Blazers Edge Night is coming up. So that's where we're at, with the Trailblazers. I agree with his assessment. There was no pressure on any of the players that they have on roster right now to where Cronin had to make a move. And if you're going to talk to teams and you don't find the value that you're looking for, and Joe admitted as much in his press conference, then you don't have to rush. Wait until the summertime when you have a chance to get better deals done, whether it be draft night or, at the beginning of free agency in July. And then you can get the deals done. And my guess would be is that he and Mr. Schmitz have identified players like Denny Avdia, the young talent, guys who fit the roster and the age range of the guys that they have and what they're trying to develop. They probably laid the groundwork for moves like that to come during the summertime. So that's what we have to wait for. And the rest of the way for the Blazers, I think we're going to see an opportunity for the young guys to continue to play. And the lineup I want to see is Scoot, Shaedon, Klingon, Toumani Camara, and Denny Avdia. The 5 guys who I believe are, building blocks as they continue to move into the future. But most importantly, just more development to see the players continue to develop and make the move in the right direction. We've seen tremendous growth over the last month from Scoot. Avdia and Kamara have been great throughout the entire year. Klingon's been really good over the last couple of weeks. He had those 2 great games in Denver, 21 points and 7 boards, which was a career high scoring-wise for him. Then he had 17 points and 20 rebounds. 10 of the 20 rebounds were on the offensive glass in game number 2. So we just want to see those young guys, Scoot, Shaedon, Klingon, Toumani, and Denny, continue to grow and develop. That's going to be critical. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. Aaron Fincher is going to stop by at 5:20. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620, and you can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. Tomorrow, we have Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers. I'll be giving away a pair of tickets for the Hornets and Trailblazers at 5, and all you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. All right, a couple of different things I wanted you to hear. First off, LeBron James did not participate in the All-Star game due to a foot injury, but he was asked about adding Luka Doncic.
Just the excitement of being able to add a caliber player like that, a generational talent like that to our franchise, is something that's given me energy. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. I think we only had, 2 games? 2 games so far. And I think he's been on minutes restrictions since he came back from the calf. He hadn't played since Christmas, I believe. So, as we continue to, get into form, as he continues to get in form, I think we could be really good going down the stretch, but we see what happens.
All right, there's LeBron on adding Luka. The cool thing is they'll be in town on Thursday, Lakers and Blazers from Moda Center. Also, Steph Curry, who won MVP in the broken up, 3-game little mini tournament in the way they had the All-Star game structured this year. He had a chance to speak.
It's only fitting that the All-Star MVP on this floor go to Steph Curry.
It is indeed fitting that what happened here in front of the home folks on this night. What makes that so special for you?
Yeah, it's just a celebration of a lot of great things happening in basketball. To be playing with these guys for as long as we have, it's obviously our responsibility to come out and put on a show, and I thank them for helping me do that in Golden State, because a lot of histories happen out here, but the competition and the camaraderie and the legacies that we all create is what it's all about. So I'm happy to be a part of that celebration.
8-second violation, huh?
Yeah. I didn't know the rules. My bad.
All right, there's Steph Curry. He put on a show, as you might expect, in front of his home fans. He is a class act for sure. Now, a couple of guys spoke about the format and the way it was set up. Trae Young didn't like the extended breaks or the downtime. Here's what he had to say.
To be honest, I didn't like it at all. I don't like the breaks, how long. I mean, the games are so short, obviously. We can score. And so they're trying to extend the game or extend the TV time with breaks and things like that. And as a player, you're trying to stay warm and things like that. So it's kind of tough to do that. I mean, we got a 7'5" guy over there coming off the bench for the first time probably in his life, and sitting 20 minutes is not probably easy for them. I mean, so it's tough for me. So I can already understand how they feel.
All right, there's Trae Young. Didn't like the extended breaks. That's tough on the players. And then Draymond shared his unfiltered thoughts on TV about the format.
You work all year to be an all-star, and you get to play up to 40, and then you're done. This is so unfair to Victor Wembanyama, who just took this game really seriously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just took this game really seriously. When you talk about chasing after the points records, Melo and Kobe and all these guys who've had great scoring nights, they don't get the opportunity to do that with this game. Also, we can watch some rising stars. We're about to watch the Olympic team. Now we get the treat of watching the Olympic team play against a U19 team. Come on, what are we doing?
Scale of 1 to 10, your thoughts of the format?
10 being the best?
Yes.
A 0. Sucks.
All right, there's Draymond. He didn't stop there. He also made a bold prediction about the Warriors.
We're going to win the championship.
Say that one more time so that everybody here can
say that with your chest.
I didn't hear you. My earpiece.
Because they added Jimmy Butler III. So what did you say?
81.
I'm sorry. I said I think we're going to win a championship, but I lied. We are going to win the championship.
Wow. All right, there you go. So he is being bold and saying the Warriors are going to win the championship. I don't necessarily see that happening. But in regards to the format with this, mini tournament they had, with games played to 40, I don't think that's the answer. I don't understand what the problem is. Why can't the players just get together and say, look, for 20-plus years, this game has kind of gone down the drain. Why don't we just compete? Let's play the game straight up. Let's try to win. Let's go out there and battle and commit to that. Why is that so hard? I'm being honest. I don't understand what the difficult process is in trying to just get to a point where they all agree that they're going to compete and have a competitive basketball game. That's really all you need. You just need the guys to commit to competing. And if they do that and they don't allow the layup drill to continue and they compete and they play some defense and they really try to show each other up out there on the floor to where you get that healthy competition like it used to be, people will tune in. That's really what it comes down to. You don't have to have a special format that's confusing. Just play a standard NBA game, but yet have all the guys commit to competing. And if you do that, I guarantee you people will tune in and watch. But for me, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but, anytime I get a sense that the guys who are playing don't necessarily care or don't have a lot of interest in being there, I lose interest real quick. But if I know that players care and they show a certain care and there's a value to being there and they're out there competing, I'll watch, because when I know that they care, that tells me I need to tune in and watch and be a part of it. That's why I love, playoff games so much, because I know the guys who are competing really care about the games that are being played. And you see that desire. So I just want to see guys competing. And like I said before, it's not hard to do. You can keep things a little bit looser in the first couple of quarters, but once you get in the second half, the way they used to do it back in the, the late 80s and into the 90s, is once the second half hit, especially the fourth quarter, both sides would tighten things up. Defensively, things would get a lot more contested and competitive, and you'd have guys out there competing. And with that type of game, it was very entertaining because you got to see the Stars kind of do what they do. But as the game went along, it started to tighten up, and guys played to win. And, maybe it's just different based on the generation that we have now. With the guys I grew up watching, like, they hated losing to one another, and they would do whatever it took to win. But maybe now, with the way things have changed and the money that's involved, whatever the case may be, maybe, that desire to defeat your opponent or that competition level, maybe it's just not the same as it used to be. And that could have something to do with, the way these players grow up, playing in AAU together. A lot of these guys, were friends when they were younger, played in AAU together, then they hit the league, and, it's different. They're not rivals like what we used to have. With Magic and Bird, they were rivals in college, played in the national championship game together, and when they hit the NBA, one was East Coast, one was West Coast. They were natural rivals, and they were competing against each other for NBA supremacy and MVP awards. So it was just different on the way in which they came up in the game. And so I'm not asking the players to be like they were, like the players were back in my day growing up, but just a overall commitment to competition, I think, would make the game better. Three-point competition is always going to be pretty solid. The dunk competition, not so much, but the three-point competition is good. But just get back to a regular game. You're East against the West, and you have guys out there making a level of commitment to competing. And if you get that, people will tune in. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, heck, even here in Portland, win, lose, or draw, what do most Blazer fans want? They want to see guys out there who play hungry, who compete and fight and show some hustle. And when you do that, fans here in Portland embrace that, and they'll support that because they like to see that type of hustle and fight and guys playing together. And I think the All-Star Game's the same way. But we now move on to the second half of the season, and the Trailblazers will kick things off against the Lakers on Thursday. And, Dave Decker told me that he thinks that, at least for the next, few weeks, we'll see the guys out there continuing to play and compete, that you'll honor the competition they had before the All-Star break. They lost 3 straight going in, but before that they had won 10 out of 11 and 6 straight. But I do think as we move deeper into the end of the season that there'll be more minutes carved out for the young players. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Aaron Fincher is going to join me coming up at 5:20. Hope you're enjoying your Monday. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. Chris Burkhart's got Courtside Monday coming up at 6.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
All right, it's now 5 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? The Trailblazers will kick off the second half of their season coming up on Thursday. Luka and the Lakers are going to be in town. Tip-off from Moda at 7. Our coverage will begin with the Rip City Drive live from Moda at 3. And then Chris Burkhart will have Blazers Game Day at 5. We'll talk with Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian coming up at 5:20 tomorrow at 5 here on the Rip City Drive. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, your chance to win tickets to the Blazers and Hornets game coming up at Moda. Every Tuesday, we give away a pair of tickets on Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers. Oregon State now 18-9. They top Pacific on Saturday. They'll be at Pepperdine Thursday. The Ducks have now won back-to-back games. They topped Rutgers yesterday. They'll be at Iowa on Wednesday. Auburn is number 1 for the 6th consecutive week. And Caitlin Clark's agent says it's impossible to pay his client her true worth to the WNBA. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, Aaron Fentress, Oregonian, coming up in 20 minutes. It'll be nice to check in with Aaron and get his take on the last half of the Trailblazers basketball season. I also want to get his take on Ben Johnson, new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Fentress, a big Bears fan, so he'll join us coming up in 20 minutes. I saw this report. Caitlin Clark, her agent, came out to speak and says it's not possible to fully compensate the Fever star for what she has meant to the WNBA. That's according to her agent, Erin Kane. And she went on to say that, will Caitlin Clark ever be paid by the WNBA what she's truly worth to the league? I don't think that's possible. She's part of a larger player body. They all need to be paid more. She should be recognized for what she has done and what she's brought to the league from an economic standpoint. It's as simple as that. Now, according to this report, an economist at Indiana University, Columbus, interviewed by the Indianapolis Star, recently calculated that Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis and almost 27% of the league's economic activity for the 2024 season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. Her expected salary for the upcoming season is $78,000. Yeah, she's valuable. There's no question about it. I can't wait for, Portland to get their WNBA team up and rolling because it'll be cool to go watch Clark in person. But Clark herself will be fine because, she's as good as gold right now. And she'll be able to endorse and continue to have other opportunities. But, what I'm hoping is, that the big fallout from Caitlin Clark hitting the WNBA is, especially with the stars that we saw in college, with Clark being the leader of that pack. And we got some great young stars in college now. What I'm hoping is for the health of the WNBA is that what will happen is you get a bunch of young girls who were watching Clark and some of these other stars, and then these young girls pick up an interest in basketball instead of maybe pursuing other sports, and then we get some of the best and brightest young girls to be able to participate in basketball. And then from that, maybe these stars right now can help power a new generation of young basketball players, and the girls will be there to pursue it in college and then onto the WNBA. Meaning we get some of our better athletes, female athletes, to participate in basketball, and then from that, you can really grow the game. But Caitlin Clark, it's as simple, and I've talked to a lot of people about this. All I know is that I've watched more WNBA basketball over the last year because of Caitlin Clark. It's as simple as that for me. I want to watch her play. I want to check her out and see what she can do. Her skill set, her shooting ability, and the way she sees the court, it's fun. And I watched her in college, too, and I like the rivalry she's got with some of the other, ladies that were in college that are now in the WNBA. And they'll have a chance to grow and build on some of those rivalries, which is really cool. I enjoy that. As for the Trailblazers who kick off the second half of their season coming up on Thursday, it's very simple for me at this point. Obviously, I want to see Luka and LeBron, but for me, it's all about player development. as it has been from the beginning of the year up until now. Now, what do I think the Blazers are going to do? Well, I don't know exactly. I think they're going to continue to honor the efforts they've had over the last month and continue to allow them to compete to see if they can string together some more wins coming out of the All-Star break. But then as we get, deeper into the end of the season, I do think we'll see the vets, particularly Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant, play fewer minutes, and that will usher in an opportunity for the younger guys to continue to play. I would like to see, for multiple games, Scoot Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, and Denny Avdia get a chance to play together and see what those guys can do. I want to see them continue to grow and develop as individuals, but I want to see them develop some more of that on-court chemistry. And then more importantly, like we've seen over the last month plus, that they take the concepts that are being taught by the coaching staff so they can continue to, pursue, execute, and learn and be able to play together. I think that's critical. And Coach Billups was asked after that last game in Denver if he's happy with where the group is at right now as they enter the All-Star break.
Yeah, I'm very happy with where we are right now. Obviously the injuries don't make me feel very good, and I hope that we can lick our wounds a little bit, over the break, and we need the break. We all do. Need a little time away from each other, but that's just what the break is all about. But I am, Sean, I'm happy with where we are as a group, as a team. Our young guys continue to take steps, and I loved these couple games right here for DC. I thought he was excellent, and he's gotten himself back to where he was when he was playing at a pretty high level early before he got injured.
Well, definitely has been much more friendly this year on the injury front because, the young guys have been healthier. They've been able to play more, and that's going to be critical the rest of the way because the Blazers have a limited number of games remaining, and they need to get those guys on the floor so they can continue to have the necessary data to be able to evaluate the players that they have. And then from there, they can continue to develop their offseason plan. But I do think those five, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, and Denny, are building blocks that they can move with into the future, which is great. And they'll be able to add to that, this summer through the draft, through trades, and then we'll see what's available come free agency as well. Coach also talked about Klingon, his play, and he had those two terrific games, 21 points, career high, and the 20 rebound performance to go with 17 points.
Yeah, we need all of them. We really do. DC is a really good offensive rebounder. When he gets his hand on it, he is his. He's done a really good job of that. He's established that early in his career already. To rebound that much, you got to be active, and he gets rebounds that are not quite in his area. He goes out of his area to get these rebounds, which is not easy for a guy his size. He could just kind of sit there and wait till they fall in his lap, but he doesn't. He gets rebounds outside of his area, which is a big deal, and he's doing a better job of finishing around the basket.
All right, the cool thing for Klingon is that he's going to get more of a chance to play down the stretch because Aiden's going to be out for multiple weeks with the calf strain. That's going to open up a ton more minutes for Klingon. And then what they can do is they can, use Robert Williams in spots to eat up some of the innings so that you can still monitor the minutes that Klingon's going to play. But the good thing is, he should be able to should have his minute total up there around 30-plus minutes a night. That will help with his conditioning, but more important for him, just to continue to be on the floor, to continue to adjust to the officiating and get used to that. He did struggle a couple of weeks ago with some foul issues, so he has to continue to make that adjustment. And then from there, we know he's a great shot blocker and rebounder, but it'll give him an opportunity to continue to work on the touch around the basket. So that's where we're at. It's all about player development. I would imagine Joe Cronin has laid the groundwork for deals that he wants to get done during the summertime with the conversations he had before the deadline. And then once we move into the summertime, we'll see what they're able to get done. And then we'll see what happens with the draft and what type of talent they're able to, acquire and continue to build with this group that they've got. And then if I had to take a guess with some of the veterans they have on the roster, my guess would be Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons would be near the top of the list of guys they would look to move. I have heard from, and I've talked to Sean Highkin about this a lot, I'm not convinced they want to move Robert Williams right away. I do think that they need to keep at least one of the centers, either Ayton or Williams, because they're going to need someone to be able to play minutes next to Klingon going into next year. DeWalt Reef's not enough. You would need another player. As Dave said, it may not be one of those two guys who are more expensive, but you'll need someone else to be there to be able to eat up some of the innings because Klingon can't play 40 minutes a night. So you'll need somebody else there. Maybe it's Williams or Ayton. So you move one and keep the other to be able to play and eat up some of those minutes next to Klingon. That's a possibility too. But I would say Grant and Simons would be near the top of the list because you have some redundancy there, and you need to move those guys out so you can clear away for your younger players, guys like Avdia and Tamani, and obviously your backcourt of Scoot and Shaden. And we'll see how things continue to shake out. But that's why I think it would make logical sense to be able to maybe reduce the amount of minutes that Simons and Grant play down the stretch so you can open up more minutes. And hopefully maybe we'll get a chance to see Scoot and Shaden start some games together. I don't know how much longer, Coach will keep Shaden on the bench. He benched him for poor defense. Shaden has responded well to that adversity, and he's played hard in his role off the bench. But maybe he can, gain some more minutes and get into the starting lineup. And then we'll have a chance to see the backcourt play together. I would like that. They need that. We haven't really seen that extensively too much since they both have come into the league. Last year because of injury and this year because of, the current rotation. But I want to see those two guys together and see what they can do together on the floor and have a chance to develop some of that chemistry. One NFL note, there is one rumor floating around that I'm going to keep an eye on. I think one of the bigger stories to watch this offseason is with the 49ers. Brock Purdy's up for a contract extension. And, I've made this point all along that I think Brock Purdy's done a heck of a job for the 49ers, but I don't put him in a top 5 elite class in the NFL, nowhere close to that. But he's the next guy up. And usually what happens in the quarterback market is the next guy up gets a ridiculous contract that, breaks new ground. And that would put Brock Purdy in line to make somewhere between $50 and $60 million a year. I just don't think if you're the 49ers that you want to commit that type of money to Purdy long term. I would make him play out the final year of his deal and then make a decision from there. See what he can do, see if he's able to produce, and find out how he adjusts coming off a year where the 49ers were, they did not live up to expectations. And that way you don't commit yourself big dollars to a quarterback that may not be the legitimate answer. Well, there is one particular rumor that's out there right now. Obviously, the Falcons are going to move forward with Michael Penix, and that leaves Kirk Cousins open. The 49ers, if they get into a negotiating squabble with Purdy over dollars, and you don't feel comfortable investing that type of money in him, maybe you could bring in a guy like Cousins who can fill the gap until you figure out your long-term answer at quarterback if you don't believe Purdy's the guy. Cousins, of course, has a connection to Kyle Shanahan during his time at Washington. They know each other extremely well. Maybe you make a play on that. I wouldn't even be averse to bringing in Aaron Rodgers for a short period of time if I can avoid paying Brock Purdy record-breaking type money. I just don't want to get into a situation where I'm paying Brock somewhere around $50 to $60 million a year. I don't think he's that type of quarterback. Now, would I pay him $30 to $40 million a year? Yes. I just don't want to break the bank on him, for a guy that requires a lot around him to be able to have success and run the offense the way it needs to be run. All right, coming up next, Aaron Fentress will join us from the Oregonian. We'll get his take on the second half of the season, what he thinks about the rookies and how much time they'll get. And I'll get his thoughts on Ben Johnson being hired by the Bears. Is he the right answer for Caleb Williams and that franchise? We'll find out next here on the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. All right, joining us now, my good friend from the Oregonian. You can follow him on social at Aaron J. Fentress, and he's back. My man, what's going on?
What's up, man? You know what? Right before the break, I was thinking, I think I'm due for a Chad checkup. I have a feeling that Chad's going to reach out in the next week or so. And here you are.
Yeah, I know.
How's it going?
I've been missing talking to you. I see you at all the games, but I thought it was a good time to catch up. First off, what do you think about the Bears hire Ben Johnson? Do you think he's the right answer at coach for the quarterback and where they need to go?
Oh, I don't know. I'm cool with it. I would have been fine with Vrabel. I would have been fine with McCarthy. I kind of wanted a veteran guy who's been there, done that. So you know that there's like a floor of they're going to at least be good. They're going to not let shenanigans ruin the whole process like Eberflus did and other coaches in the past. But, you know, they're rolling the dice on a hotshot guy. It just drives me nuts when guys like this, they'll get $13 million a year. It's like the sixth highest paid coach in the league has a record of 0-0. It's that drives me nuts. But fine, roll the dice, see what happens. Worst case scenario, you fire him 3 years, and then you hire a veteran coach.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they kept Eberflus in the first place. They should have fired and cleaned house when they knew they were going to get Caleb Williams. But, you know, I like Ben Johnson. I mean, he did great work in Detroit, but I'm in the same boat you are when it comes to the young, hot assistant. Until they're in that position and in that role, you just don't know how they're going to turn out. Cliff Kingsbury was the same way. Great offensive mind, but didn't have the background and discipline to be able to be a head man. And the guys, you know, he ran too loose of a ship, and now he's back being a coordinator doing a heck of a job. So hopefully Ben will have the right plan in place and be able to deal with the people the way you have to run a tight ship and have success.
Exactly. You're hoping he's like McVay. You're hoping he's like even LaFleur, Shanahan, guys like that.
Yeah.
And if he can put that type of success together, I'm all for it. I'm so tired of the Bears being bad. It's so embarrassing. My son makes fun of me. You know, it's just my wife is always like, "Oh, are the Bears going to be good this year?" Probably not, huh?
Yeah,
I'm like,
sucks.
no, they're not. Next question. No.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, with Caleb Williams, I'm not concerned about him at all. I still think he's going to be great. How do you feel about him after the first year? Are you concerned, or was he just a victim of circumstance?
Extremely encouraged. The fact that he threw just 6 interceptions, he set the rookie record for most attempts in a row without an interception. The fact that he did that with 2 different head coaches, complete dysfunction, an offensive coordinator who just came out wasn't even watching film with him. Did you see that report?
Yes.
Waldron wasn't even watching film with the guy. That's like the first thing you do as an OC is watch film with the quarterback. That's crazy to me if that's true. You had no running game. The running game was horrible. That's something that Jaden Daniels had. He had a top 5 running game, which helps any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback. But and then the duress he was under, being hit as much as he was, constantly under pressure, for him to only throw 6 interceptions is a miracle. Give that guy a decent running game, give him some time, and I have complete faith at the very least he's going to be better than Cutler. And Cutler was solid to good. If I get good with potential great, I'll be happy. So I'm very encouraged by what Caleb did.
Yeah, you're right. He's not getting enough attention for the way he did play. I think it's because things ended so badly with the coach, and it was kind of a mess, and you're in that big media market, so the criticism's going to fly. But I think Caleb's going to be just fine. Now, what'd you think about the All-Star format with the mini 3 games with the tournament style?
I think it was better than what we've seen because it looked like they were actually trying a little bit. If they would just give that type of effort in a real game, I think that would be better without shooting.
Yeah. Now, I'm with you on that. Why is it so hard for the guys just to get together and say, hey, we got to go out there and play and compete to win and give a good effort? Why is that so hard for the guys? I don't understand. All right, why don't you do me a favor, Brendan? Why don't you put Fentress on hold, and we'll see if we can get this connection figured out. So, Brendan, put him on hold, and then reconnect with Fentress. I should have known. Right when we started talking about the All-Star game, that happened. It's unfortunate. Just the thought of the All-Star game caused Fentress to derail with his phone connection. But no, I think the Bears are in a good spot. They made the right hire. Look, there's no guarantee that Ben Johnson is going to turn out to be the right guy because you never know with the young assistant. But I do know this much, that when you've got a quarterback like Caleb, you need the right offensive mind. All right, Fentress is back. I asked you about the All-Star game. So, Fentress, here's my question. Because I agree. I just want a regular basketball game with that type of effort. But why is it so hard for the guys not to just come together and say, hey, let's respect the game. Let's go out there and give a good effort. And come fourth quarter, we'll be defending and competing to win. Why is that so hard now?
Because it's just evolved to the point where this generation of player doesn't feel like you're supposed to do that. They don't have that same level of not hatred, but rivalry feeling towards the other conference, towards the other players, like we saw back, we're old heads now, right? So back in the 80s and 90s, back when they hated each other, back when they slashed each other's tires in the parking lot. So it's just they're making way too much money. They're all good friends. Heck, half of them have played with each other, now since players move around so much. And then, like I was saying before I was cut off, I'm not sure if you heard me or not, the 3-point thing has really added to this because it's one thing to have no defense. It's another thing to have no real basketball at all other than come down and shoot a three. And you can watch. Didn't the last time they played the regular way, they shot a combined 173s or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah.
So basically, the game is played between the 3-point line, and everyone shoots threes. So your center and B is coming down shooting a three. Then Dame comes down and shoots a three. Then Curry and the back and forth. And that's all they're doing. Then they get deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's not even a basketball game. So that's added to the problem as well. So I don't know if it's repairable unless I do love the idea of USA versus the world. I think that could get pretty fun. I think that could be something where, okay, now maybe there's something more to play for, and each side is going to take it more personally and bring their A game.
All right, let's talk about the Trailblazers. They kick off the second half of their season on Thursday against the Lakers. How do you think the team or the franchise will handle it when it comes to the veterans like Ant and Grant? And will we see a minute reduction like we have over the last couple of years, or are they going to allow guys to continue to play? How do you think they're going to handle that?
I think it depends on if they pull the plug on the plan, which I think they're 5 games back coming in with 27 to go, and you're chasing Golden State, which is just way better than you. I kind of think that dream, as faint as it was, is probably dead. I think if they determine that it is, then maybe we start seeing some players disappear from the rotation for injuries that get stretched out, which we've seen that the Blazers have become masters at the last couple of years. So I definitely could see that coming about sooner rather than later. And plus, Ayton being out, he's going to miss 4 weeks with 3 starting when the game started again. So 3, you're not going to win many games I don't believe, with Klingon and then Robert Williams in and out. I think losing Ayton kind of cements the fact that they're not going to make the play-in. So it probably makes sense to see if you can fall and dip a little bit to get maybe back to 7th worst record and give us a better chance to make the play-in. So I kind of feel like at least a mini tank effort's coming because I don't see the point as to why you would go full bore trying to barely miss the play-in. And I'll be clear, man, that winning 10 out of 11 was fun to watch in a lot of ways.
It was.
And it was sort of a Chauncey I told you so. I can turn this thing around and get guys playing the right way. It's just going to take time. But at the same time, at what cost? Right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And the big problem is the direction. Like what were you going to accomplish by doing that? And why have a head coach in a situation where he's a lame duck, so he has to do everything he can to win and show he can coach? He doesn't care if you get the number 1 pick if he's not here, right? So he needs to rack up as many wins and show that he can develop, which is what he did. And then boom, it blew up. They won 10 out of 11 accidentally. No one saw that coming. There's no way anyone in that organization thought, we're about to win 10 out of 11. So you do that instead of maybe extending your coach and then having him in on the tank, or maybe you just fired him last year and didn't bring him back this year and hired someone who was down for the tank and wasn't playing for their future, coaching for their future. And so now you create a really precarious situation because, let's say this team has turned the corner to becoming at least solid. So you go into this season next year with the same group, and maybe instead of starting out 13-28, you start out 17-15, and then you're in the hunt the whole season to get in the postseason. Okay, but still, where does that put you? Put you middle of the pack. And where's your star? Do you have a star? Is there a future all-star on this roster? Because if there's not, you're never going to have a chance to contend. And if the All-Star is not on this roster, you have to either trade for him or draft him, and you hurt your chances of drafting him by drafting 8th or 9th instead of 1, 2, or 3. So it just creates a whole different set of problems for you moving forward with or without Chauncey. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they navigate things moving forward, given what just happened.
Yeah, a couple of interesting points you brought up there. First off, in regards to Chauncey Billups, I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, they obviously didn't pick up his option. No one that I know expects him back next year. But I think with that recent stretch and in combination with the development of the young guys, I think Chauncey has now coached himself into a position to where he'll get another job, which is pretty amazing based on what's on his record. But he's done a heck of a job this year.
Well, I just did a story recently where I talked to him at length about this. I talked to his agent. And his agent, Andy Miller, says, we're not even worried about his coaching future. We know he has a future in coaching because the rest of the NBA does not view him the way fans in Portland do. Because I think most people who understand what's been going on are not going to blame him for their record. I always challenge fans, like, we don't want to talk. Okay, tell me why. Look at his record. Okay, you're not paying attention. Someone the other day said, look what he did in 21-22 when he had winning talent. They had Dame, CJ, Powell, Hart, Covington, and they lost. And I was just like, dude, you weren't paying attention. That's the year. You mean the year where Dame had the core injury and then had surgery and was out for the season, when CJ had a collapsed lung, and CJ and Hart never played with each other. They were traded for one another, and Hart played 2 games before they shut him down. Like, what are you talking about? And then remember COVID hit too, and the lineup was all jacked up around Christmas time. There's no way any coach in the history of the NBA would have even close to a 500 record with what happened that year. But that's how he's being judged. So that's what's going on in Portland, because fans look for someone to blame. But according to his agent and according to other sources around the league, he's not viewed that way. Around the league, he had opportunities last spring. Had the Blazers fired him last spring, he might have had other options. So I think this is a situation where if the Blazers move off of him, it's kind of dirty pool, because Joe Cronin put him in this situation. Joe Cronin gave him bad teams. Period. There's no way around it. And so he lost with bad teams, but they turned the corner. So why have the guy develop these young players and start to look better just to let them go? You should just let them go last year, because what more could he possibly have proven this season than what he already has? So it's all just kind of a wackadoodle situation. I feel like the franchise is rudderless right now, and I'm not going to really take anything they do seriously until a true all-star caliber player ends up on this team somehow, some way.
Well, it sounds like you kind of see the team the way that I do, where I'm encouraged greatly by the development of the young 5 players, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Tamani, and Denny. All 5 have shown improvement, which is great, and I believe they're building blocks for the future, but I'm not convinced that either one of those 5 is an alpha, right? So they're still searching for that superstar. So they have 5 good pieces to build upon, but you still need that superstar player. We just don't know where that's going to come from.
Exactly. And then, I still maintain until it doesn't happen that, who's to say that down the line, if Sharp and or Scoot become star caliber, that they stay. I think the fact what happened in Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox, should be alarming. That's a small market team that had 2 high-end point guards, traded one for a center to go with De'Aaron Fox, and now De'Aaron Fox is gone. Why? Why is he gone? He was your centerpiece. He's gone. I refuse to believe that could not happen with Scoot and or Sharp down the line. If they're not happy in Portland and one or both wants to bail and wants to get out and they're gone, and then where are you if those guys develop? So it's all a mess. I just find it to be dirty pool if they have Chauncey to go through what he had to go through just to let him go, because I don't believe there's some magic coach out there who's going to come here and do better with this roster. But hey, that's the NBA, right?
Well, yeah, it's true, man.
I mean, look at OKC with Mark. They suffered more blowout losses while winning only 20-something games for 2 straight years than Billups did, and then they added pieces, and then they got better, and boom, they became good.
Yeah.
But what people around here are saying, well, Chauncey went through the lean times and didn't have a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And then he should be cut loose because he lost. When losing wasn't really his fault. So.
Oh, one thing that stands true in our lifetime, because we are old heads with the NBA now, the Lakers always getting their superstar, whether it was Wilt, Kareem, Magic, Shaq, Kobe, LeBron, and now they get Luka.
Gasol.
Yeah, Gasol.
Anthony Davis.
Isn't that crazy? They traded Luka.
I mean, Worthy. They won the championship and had like the number 1 pick in the draft and got James Worthy and added him too. And then they traded Norm Nixon for Byron Scott back in the 80s. Like it's just always disgusting with them. It's repulsive. and the Blazers can't. I mean, I guess you just had Dame, but before Dame, LaMarcus left. Roy couldn't stay healthy. Odin didn't work out because he couldn't stay healthy. On and on and on. And it's just like, but then you look at the Lakers and they just add guys. And that's part of the problem for Portland too. It's not just how you build your team and who you get, it's who you're competing against.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the West. Houston stacked. OKC is ridiculously stacked. Minnesota has Edwards. Now the Lakers have Luka.
Yeah, Memphis is tough. Yeah.
Right. And Dallas, at least in the short term, is going to be good. Yeah, Memphis with Morant and Jackson. We forgot De'Aaron Fox and Wemby.
Yeah.
So how are you going to ever come up with a talent base to compete with those 6 franchises off the top of our head?
It's the top of the draft.
2 stars.
Yeah, it's the top of the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the top of the draft, which the winning 10 of 11 just probably torpedoed that for this year.
Man, I hope, because, our lives would be transformed if they got Cooper Flagg. I'm just going to pray, like I always do every year, that somehow, some way they wind up with Flagg. They came close to Wemby, but Cooper Flagg is legit, man. I want him so bad because it'd be fun for us. It'd be great.
It'd be more fun, and it gives you a centerpiece. It gives you Michael.
Yeah.
It gives you Michael. Right now, you got a bunch of potential Jermaines. I didn't mean Michael Jordan. I meant Jack.
Tito's. Yeah, Tito's.
It gives you Michael. Yeah, you got Jermaines and Tito's and Randy's and Marlins, and that's all cool, but you need your Michael. And until this team finds Michael, it's just another boy band.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. Dude, it's nice to catch up with you, Aaron. I'm glad you're well. Your family's good and everything?
Oh, great, man. It was a good little time off there. Well, I wasn't off. I did some work, but just time away for a little bit. And I'm kind of looking forward to Thursday, right? Luka's coming to town.
I can't believe it. It's going to be wild to see those two. I just want to see him and LeBron on the floor together. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, buddy. We'll catch up soon.
All
Aaron
right,
J. Fentress on social from the Oregonian. Aaron Fentress, thanks for your time, buddy.
You too. Thanks, man. Bye.
There you go. There's Aaron. Aaron Fentress, Oregonian. All right, there you have it. Yeah, Cooper Flagg. Whew. He would be tasty in a Trailblazer uniform, but I can't allow my mind to go there. But, man, that's the stuff dreams are made of right there. All right, so it's all going to kick off on Thursday, and we'll see Luka and LeBron together, and it'll be fun to see the young Blazers compete against them. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. You'll find me on social, @Chad and Rip City. Chris Burkhart's got Courtside Monday coming up at 6. And then we're back at it with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Sean Hyken, our Trailblazer Insider, will join us tomorrow. He's coming off his trip to the All-Star Game, so we'll get his take on that. And Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday at 5 o'clock. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. All right, Chris Burkhardt going to join me in just a moment and share what he's got coming up on Courtside Monday. All right, brother. It's good to see you, Chris Burkhardt. Hope you had a nice weekend.
It was a busy weekend.
It looked like the girls enjoyed the snowfall that we had.
Oh, they did. My littlest was running around. Snow, Dad, snow. It was pretty fun.
That's great. Yeah, no school for a couple of days. You can't beat that.
Can't beat that. Dad was busy, though. It was cheer championships. So took the daughters with me. They took my camera. I found out I'm replaceable because they took the camera. We're taking all the pictures. And, yep, Dad's replaceable. They're going to be future social media moguls.
That's pretty sweet. And it was nice to see
Starting
Sean
young.
Highkin. Nice to see Sean Highkin down there at All-Star Weekend.
Oh, look at the Rip City Radio representation down there in San Francisco. He was grinding. He was on the whole road trip. Did Minnesota back-to-back in Denver, and then was down there at All-Star Weekend, which was an absolute dud. It was like 4th of July when you light your favorite firework and you watch the fuse go all the way down, and then nothing happens because you got a defective one. I think All-Star Game's busted, but,
It's definitely busted.
It's bad.
It's really bad. I don't need more confusion in my life trying to figure out some type of 3-team mini tournament or whatever.
No, the NBA is trying way too hard, man. Just way too hard.
Way too hard.
Yeah.
It's really brutal.
You want to know why things are bad? How come there's no interest in the dunk contest? Because Max McClung is a 3-time winner, and the dude is a G Leaguer who everyone now thinks is the best dunker of all time because he, dunked in a stationary hoop with no one guarding him. And you had dunk contests that featured, Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan, right?
Insanity.
Get these guys off their high horse. LeBron should have been in it years ago. Get the best actual in-game dunkers in this thing. It's kind of ridiculous. The whole thing's a sham. It's
the Anthony Simons dunk contest was awesome, but we're biased.
No, it wasn't.
The problem is I grew up with Jordan and Dominique in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
So anything after that is going to pale in comparison. My issue is this, and maybe it goes back to the way the players are raised, starting with AAU ball, where the players, they grow up from a young age playing with one another. They get to the league, they're all friends. So it's different than when, like, Magic and Bird came in the league and they were instant rivals because they had a national title game in college. They were East Coast, West Coast, vying for the same thing in the NBA. It's different now. So I just don't understand why it's so hard for the guys to come together and say, look, we got an all-star game. Let's go out there. We can play a little bit loose over the first couple of quarters, but by the fourth quarter, we're going to be D'ing up and playing an intense game. I don't know why that's so hard for them.
No, you got
because if they did it the right way and competed, we would watch.
Yeah, you got to mix it up, and all of a sudden have 4 teams in some little tournament. First to 40 wins. It's so weird, man. I don't get it. I used to love All-Star Weekend, and it's just a dud now.
All right, what do you got coming up on Courtside?
Well, plenty of Blazer talk. Not really. It's a cold weekend. Not a lot of games. It's kind of nice to get a break, but we're going to talk about that All-Star break because Bryce McGowan was out there having a good time. Toumani Camara showed the world that he's pretty good still, and obviously talk about the format. We're also going to have Brandon Goldner of the We Like the Blazers podcast join us live from Connecticut, having some fun here and just talking Blazers, man, getting ready for the post-All-Star break run to either the lottery or a play-in. I think I know which way they're going.
Well, how do you think it's going to work with the veterans? Do you think we'll see a reduction here real soon in minutes from some of the vets like Ant and Grant? How do you think they're going to play it this year?
Well, I'll tell you this, Chad. I think if at some point if you had conversations earnestly at the trade deadline about trying to move Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant or anyone else, and they are still in your starting lineup and playing 35 minutes a night by the end of the season, I think you've messed up. I think if you really do plan to move those guys in the offseason, which I truly do believe to be the case, then you have to eventually shift things and let the young guys still play Ant his 30 minutes or whatever, but play him off the bench. I think you have to do that. You have to pull the plug. If that's truly direction you're going to go this offseason, just start the movement now.
I'm with you on that. I want to see the young guys play. The lineup I'm most excited to see is the 5 guys that we've been talking about with Denny and Toumani at forward, Klingon at center. And we know Klingon's going to play extended minutes because of the injury to Ayton with Scoot and Shade in the backcourt. I'd like to see a stretch where those 5 get a chance to start multiple games together. It's just so we can see them play, but more importantly, develop some chemistry and continue to develop as individuals.
Well, I've been on this before here, Chad, but you look at like the team in 2019 that goes to the Western Conference Finals, right? not a lot of people would argue that they had the best forward tandem in the NBA, right? Maurice Harkless and Al-Farouq Aminu they would have been bench players on a lot of teams, right? But the reason that team was so good was chemistry, right? The ability to play together and get the most out of that, to get the most juice out of that lemon or that orange or whatever fruit you're juicing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the chemistry matters. And so if you can start right now and say, okay, we're going to move those guys, that's our future. Why wait until November 1st to roll out Shea, Scoot, Denny, and Donovan? Do it now. You have an opportunity right in front of you. Everyone who's, oh gosh, they lost 3 straight or whatever after the, going into the break. Well, yeah, but it's not as if they went from a good team to a bad team. They're just right back to where they had been. They just had a really good stretch of 11 games, right? So it's okay. Let the young guys get out there, see what you got. Because if you truly want to go that direction, don't wait till November. That would be stupid.
All right. As a 49er fan, what's the limit that you want them to go to with Brock Purdy's new contract?
Oh my gosh! I mean, what's a good number? Like, I mean, what's a max deal for a quarterback right now?
It's going to be somewhere around $60 million a year,
and he's not a $60 million a year quarterback.
No,
I think he's middle of the pack. Like
I pay him like 40.
Yeah, I was thinking 30, 35, but
Yeah.
that's where I think he's at. And quite frankly, I think that's an absolute fair deal. I hate the idea that everyone you hit free agency, everyone, oh, I'm a max player. No, the top is the max, and then you go down from there, right?
Yeah.
And Brock Purdy's been good. I've been a Brock Purdy defender, but he's also been bad at times too. He's like 14th, 15th best starter probably, and he should be paid in that range.
I just don't want to commit $50 to $60 million a year for a quarterback who's not in that upper crust.
No, not.
And it's no disrespect to Purdy. I don't want to hamstring myself financially with that type of deal for a Brock Purdy.
No, you do two things: is you either you handicap yourself financially for adding anything around him, or he ends up pooping the bed, and you've handicapped yourself from getting out of that deal. So you have to be really careful with it. You can't just back up the Brinks truck to him. And granted, it was off the field stuff, but I mean, look at the Cleveland situation with Deshaun Watson. They were stupid enough to get we're going to take him and give him money, and the guy has been a terrible product on the field. No one's lining up to get him, right? So you have to be careful. But I think 35 for Purdy is more than fair.
Yeah, that's that number. I would do that for sure. Because then you don't hamstring yourself, or they could just bring him back and let him play out the final year of his deal. He won't want to do that, but at least you give him another year. If he comes out and plays phenomenal football and leads him back to the Super Bowl, then you can talk bigger numbers.
Yeah, I also think with the way the contracts are in the NFL, I mean, you got to be careful, because if you bet on yourself, it can blow up in your face. And when he's sitting here right now getting Mr. Irrelevant type money, right? Can't afford rent in San Francisco money. You take $30 million and understand that you're in a real good situation.
It is going to be fun on Thursday to see Luka and LeBron on the floor together, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Until, we get some weird, LeBron's not playing because the wind's blowing more than 5 miles an hour outside, and he doesn't like to play in those situations.
All right, Chris Burkhardt got Courtside Monday coming up next. That'll be from 6 until 7. Rip City Drive back tomorrow. Big thanks to Aaron Fentress and Dave Deckard and Brendan Slaughter. Have a good show tonight, my friend.
Thank you.